You slept badly. Not terribly, just badly enough. And the next day, something feels off in a way that's hard to pin on tiredness alone. A small comment lands harder than it should. A minor delay feels almost unbearable. You're not falling asleep at your desk. You're just raw. You go to bed early that night, sleep well, and wake up expecting to be back to normal. Sometimes you are. Often, strangely, you're not. Here's the part that doesn't quite make sense at first. If one bad night caused the problem, shouldn't one good night undo it? For a portion of what's wrong, it genuinely does. But for another portion, the evidence suggests it doesn't, and that portion can take real extra days to fully settle. To understand why, we're going back to a part of the brain we've spent time with before in this series, because after even a single night of poor sleep, it starts behaving almost like a different organ entirely. In 2007, researchers Soong-Shik Yu and Matthew Walker put this to a direct test. They showed sleep-deprived participants a series of increasingly disturbing images while scanning their brains, and compared the results to a group who'd slept normally. In the sleep-deprived group, the amygdala, the same fast, threat-sensitive structure we've discussed before, responded to those images roughly 60% more intensely than in the well-rested group. Not a small shift, a dramatically amplified reaction to the exact same input. That alone would explain feeling more emotionally reactive after a bad night. But the researchers found something more specific sitting underneath the amplified response, and it points directly to the regulatory system that's supposed to be keeping the amygdala in check. Piece 2. In the well-rested brains, the amygdala showed strong functional connectivity to the medial prefrontal cortex, the same regulatory region we walked through in an earlier episode, responsible for keeping emotional reactions proportionate and controlled. In the sleep-deprived brains, that connection was measurably weaker. The brake wasn't just less effective, its actual connection to the accelerator had loosened. Which explains the raw, on-edge feeling well enough for one night, but it still leaves the original question unanswered. If a single good night of recovery sleep is available, why doesn't it simply reverse this immediately? The answer lives in a detail about sleep that most people never think about. Sleep isn't uniform. Different stages get prioritized differently during recovery, and not all of them recover at the same pace. Piece 3. When your body gets the chance to recover after sleep loss, it doesn't rebuild every stage of sleep equally. Research on recovery sleep consistently shows a strong preference for restoring deep, slow-wave sleep first, the stage most tied to basic physical restoration and clearing your accumulated homeostatic sleep pressure, the same process S we've discussed earlier in this series. REM sleep, the stage most associated with dreaming, tends to rebound more gradually, sometimes taking more than a single night to fully normalize after a significant deficit. This matters more than it might initially seem, because REM sleep isn't only involved in dreaming. Sleep researcher Matthew Walker and colleagues, including work by Els van der Helm, have proposed and tested what's sometimes called the sleep to forget, sleep to remember hypothesis, that REM sleep plays an active role in processing emotionally charged memories overnight, gradually stripping away some of their raw emotional intensity while preserving the factual memory itself. Piece 4. And the actual reveal of this story. If REM sleep is the stage doing much of the work of emotionally defanging difficult experiences overnight, and REM sleep is also the stage slowest to fully rebound after a deficit, then the emotional processing system most responsible for calming you back down may still be running behind, even after your body has otherwise caught up on rest. Put together, one bad night sharply increases amygdala reactivity and weakens its connection to your prefrontal brake. One recovery night addresses much of the basic sleep debt, largely by restoring slow-wave sleep first. But the REM sleep most tied to emotional recalibration can lag behind, sometimes for an extra night or more, depending on how significant the original deficit was. You're not imagining it when you feel physically rested, but still emotionally thin a day or two after a genuinely bad night. Two different repair systems on two different recovery timelines, running at different speeds inside the same brain. This also helps explain something people often describe, but rarely have a name for. The sense that a single rough night can color an entire following week, subtly, even once the obvious tiredness has passed. It isn't that the tiredness itself lasted that long. It's that the slower recovering emotional regulation system was still catching up, quietly, underneath a person who otherwise looked and felt, on the surface, perfectly rested. None of this means every irritable mood traces back to sleep, or that recovery follows an identical timeline for everyone. The size of the original deficit, overall sleep health, age, and individual variation in sleep architecture all shape how long this lag actually lasts. And persistent, unexplained emotional volatility, unrelated to an obvious sleep disruption, is worth discussing with a doctor, rather than assuming it's simply this mechanism. But for the ordinary version, the rawness that lingers a day or two past a single bad night, even once the sleepiness itself is gone, current research points toward a real, measurable, two-speed recovery process, not a lack of willpower or an overreaction. Somewhere right now, someone who slept perfectly well last night is still snapping at something small, wondering why they haven't quite bounced back. Their amygdala has likely recovered most of its composure. Their basic exhaustion is probably gone. But somewhere in the slower, quieter work of REM sleep, the part of the night spent gradually diffusing what the day before left behind, the repair may simply still be in progress.